And now the 1500 meters freestyle, where they are bank-on favorites to win the gold medal, and probably another 1-2 finish for the Vietnamese here, because no one is even close to Nguyen Huy Hoang in this event. It's almost as if he's swimming from a different planet altogether, and the rest of planet Earth are swimming in this race and kowtowing to him and saying, I'm just privileged to be swimming in the same race as you. That's how it's been for Nguyen Huy Hoang for the last 3 games. He is in lane number 4. Well, Rowan, you were privy, of course, and sat side by side with me. Both our mouths were just agape at his swim in 2019 when he clocked 14:58.14. Do you think that it's going to be another swim of those epic proportions tonight?
I would certainly hope so. Even his swim last year of 15 minutes 0.75, that would have gotten him a ticket to the Olympics, but unfortunately it was outside of the qualifying window. So just a repeat of last year's results will get him to the Olympics next year. But I do remember saying to you in 2019 that there was no way this guy could last the 1500 meters with that kick that he was having, and then he proved me wrong.
So Huy Hoang, right on cue, in front of Subagio, who's gone off very quickly. Glen has also gone off very quickly in lane number 3. Huu Kim Son coming back into the race. And it's all about the pacing. It's all about the swimmers trying to keep stroke for stroke with Huy Hoang. Good luck to you if you do that. But if you have any chance of getting into the podium places, that's exactly what you need to do.
Yes, you know, the first 200 meters might not tell us too much about how the race is going to turn out. I mean, the 1500 is the longest event in the swim program, so it's about finding a rhythm and settling your nerves and just focusing on your own race strategy and not what the other swimmers are doing in the pool. You know, we talk a lot about how the 50 meters has to be perfectly executed, but the 1500 has so many variable factors that come into play. You know, it's about finding that balance of not over-kicking, which doesn't apply into Huy Hoang's case. So, you know, it also involves, you know, when you want to switch gears within the race itself, or choosing how you want to react if you see another swimmer doing something completely unexpected. So I would say, you know, it's definitely more forgiving in terms of if you make an error and you can correct it later on, but at the same time, there are also a lot of opportunities for errors to be made.
And as I said, when he clocked the time of 15:15.06 and was outside of the top 8 for the World Championships in Budapest last year, it was a huge disappointment for him, and was almost vilified back home as well in Vietnam because they expected him to qualify for the finals. And that's how much they have heaped the expectations on this young man. Now then, we're almost getting to the 500-meter mark, Rowan, and this was where in 2019 you were saying he went out too fast.
Yeah, I was proven wrong. We can go past that now.
And that stroke rate at the moment is at a crazy 75 strokes per minute. I guess that's what it takes to win and clock a world-class time in this event, but still, that is super crazy at this stage of the race. And we still have a kilometer to swim in the 1500 meters freestyle. He's already created some distance between himself and the rest of the field. Nguyen Huy Hoang, he's almost created a home altogether right here, a home outside of his home in Cambodia. And the rest of the field, I think before the start of it all, they were fighting for silver, and now even more so. Well, he has said it's all about keeping count in your head, the strokes and visualizing the swim even while you're in the pool. It's exactly what he says. But I'm sure deep inside, Rowan, I mean, especially at Southeast Asia, he's got to imagine there's an imaginary opponent beside him swimming. Otherwise, he can just flag very easily and slow down.
To be honest, the way he swims looks like he's picturing a shark that's behind him that's trying to eat him, and he's just swimming for his life. It's actually so hard to make a comment on how he swims because, you know, sometimes you see swimmers pick up their stroke rate going to the wall for the turns because, you know, they try to maintain that momentum going to the wall so that they can get that momentum back off the wall. But, you know, with this guy here, it's just the same pace for the entire race. There's just not much to say.
Well, Rohan, if there is a shark chasing after him, I can bet you my bottom dollar, and I'll bet my whole money on it, that the shark is going to get silver. He's got no chance of catching this boy. And that's how fast he is. Nguyen Huy Hoang, remember, Youth Olympic Games champion, of course, in the 800 meters freestyle, which was swum at the last games, but won't be swum at these games. And he is chasing after a ticket. The rest of them are chasing for medals. He's not chasing after titles here at the Southeast Asian Games. He's chasing after the ticket for the Paris Olympic Games. Totally different postal code altogether. If you live in his house, you're going to be hurting roundabout now. And this is where he usually starts his business and just opens shop. Stroke rate at 72 strokes per minute, so still very feisty from Nguyen Huy Hoang, and still so very smooth. Never seen swimming like that in long distance in Southeast Asia, especially at the 1500 meters freestyle. Someone's spoken to the boy and he's in a hurry. And for a race that lasts 1.5 kilometers, he's in a hurry from the moment he takes off the blocks. His coaches have said over the years that he is very critical about his own form, watches his races time and again just to see some chinks in the armor, some places that he has to improve upon. And let's not forget, he still has the 200 freestyle and the 400 meters freestyle to go, where at least in the 400 meters freestyle he will be one of the hot favorites. And the way he swam the 200 yesterday, don't put it past him to actually achieve a treble at these games. Oh, this begs the question, Rohan. When do we see the first lap of the swimmers side by side with him? Might be pretty soon, especially if Ratawit's in lane number 7 doesn't speed up. He might be catching up with the tie in lane number 7 pretty soon, Rohan.
Yes, and I don't think it's his first time lapping somebody in the 1500 meters. I think he's done it plenty of times. You know, he's so quick that every other swimmer is just out of the camera frame. You can't even see what's going on in second, third, or fourth place.
Well, just in case you want to know how quick he has been, I can tell you that no one in Asia in 2023, in fact since the last games, the Southeast Asian Games, no one in Asia has dipped below 15:06. And with Sun Young, of course, not swimming anymore, you'd have to fancy this boy actually going on to win the Asian Games at the end of the year, Rohan.
And he would deserve it, you know, from the way obviously this is a great testament to his training, his the mileage that he puts in for him to sustain the speed for the entire race. I think he would deserve that gold medal very much.
Well, it's not too often that we get to watch world-class swimmers at the Southeast Asian Games. Of course, we were treated to Joseph Schooling all those years ago, and he was at his pomp in the 100 meters butterfly. And now we might be treated to another world-class swimmer, and we have to savor every moment of the 15 minutes he's going to give us in the 1500 meters freestyle in the pool. There we go. The form hasn't wavered at all. It's the same stroke count of 71 per minute. And the legs are still very, very busy and still going very, very strong. Nicholas Subagio, who had the audacity of leading after 50 meters, is now lagging so far behind, and Huy Hoang might even catch up with him as well, alongside Ratawit Tamanatanot. So heading home now. 400 remaining for Huy Hoang. You'd have to say well done to Glen Lim, who is doing superbly well in lane 3 and almost catching up with second place Nguyen Huu Kim Son. Only once in the last 22 Southeast Asian Games has Singapore won this event, back in 2011, Pure Zhenren. And they have had only 2 medals in the last 16 games. Zhenren, of course, with that gold in 2011, and Marcus Chia with a bronze in 2007. So this might be the first time in a long while, in 12 years, that Singapore would podium if Glen keeps this up. That stroke rate has increased to 75, which tells you that he has kicked on to another gear. As Rohan is saying, he only has 1 gear, it seems, but that gear starts with fast, and it just goes faster and probably fastest very soon.
Yes, so an easy way to look at swim racing is by the quarters. So for this race, you might see some tweaks here and there. I mean, maybe not this race because we can only see the Vietnamese now, but in such races, you might see some tweaks here and there, like the 350 or 400 meter mark, where some swimmers might choose to switch their strategies. For Huy Hoang, I think he's really gunning for the Olympics A qualifying, which is why he has to push himself even if there's no one next to him to do that. And hopefully he gets that 15 minutes .99.
I'd love for you to have a look at the legs. Very easy to forget about that with the way that he chops around the pool, Huy Hoang, and how quick and how much propulsion he gets from these strokes with that wonderful catch of his. But have a look at his legs from here on, because we're into the final 200 meters of this race. And you think that the legs are working overtime now. Now watch it. He still has another gear when it comes to those legs. He has another engine altogether, and the legs are going to start kicking a lot more in the final 100 meters. It's almost impossible, but nothing is impossible when it comes to Nguyen Huy Hoang. Now it's going to be one of these times, isn't it, Rohan, when he clocks it for the SEA Games, that it might last for a long, long time, maybe for decades, because he's taken long-distance swimming in this region to another level altogether.
Yes, I think even in the future, he might find it hard to break his own record as well.
He's going to go on for a mighty long time. And a lot of it's down to how much he is interested in these regional competitions. Chasing after that Olympic qualifying mark, remember, 15.99 into the final leg. And he has to swim that final leg in around about 51 seconds in order to get it. It's going to be a tough, tough ask for Nguyen Huy Hoang. But don't put anything past him as he picks it up right now and goes for that sprint. What did we tell you about the legs earlier on? You think that he had already maxed it out? Well, no way. He's even improved in terms of his breathing. It's gone a little out of sync at the moment for Huy Hoang. Probably just tired out a little bit there. It's not as smooth as we saw in that earlier. And probably that ring of the bells just turned him off just ever so slightly. There we go. Now taking breaths in almost every stroke, because he wants this bad. 15.00.99. He is not going to get it, unfortunately, but he'll live another day to fight for it at the Asian Games. And he will start as a red-hot favorite at the Asian Games, and by then he will be pushed by some swimmers from China and Japan. And surely he's going to go to the Olympics. Not tonight, though, for Nguyen Huy Hoang. He'll look at the time and he will be disappointed. And then he'll look at the race, as his coaches have said again and again, the perfectionist that he is. Make some tweaks here and there, prepare for the Asian Games, come back stronger than ever. And even if he doesn't make it, I'm sure the Vietnamese will be sending him to Paris next year. A world-class swimmer at the Southeast Asian Games. Nguyen Huu Kim Son has just touched home, and how about that from Glen Lim, touching home for bronze. Singapore's first medal in the 1500 meters freestyle since 2011. Well done, Glen. We're just putting him on a different level altogether, aren't we, Rohan? Because he's just clocked a time underneath 15, well, just above 15:10, 15:11.24, and we're looking at it and shaking our heads and saying, that's very disappointing.